You are Locked On Clippers Postcast, part of Locked On Los Angeles on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Well, welcome to the Clippers Postcast, another early start, which means another complete and utter disaster, especially on defense. We'll get to it in a second. I am Pete Fox. Thank you for joining me here on the Locked On LA Sports YouTube channel and listening to us on the Locked On Clippers podcast feed. Tonight's postcast is brought to you by Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app with over 3 million members. I am Pete Fox. Coming on the postcast right after, or just about after, the Clippers get done. We do it after every game. So check us out on the Locked On LA Sports YouTube channel right after every game. That's the place to hang out if you want to get an honest breakdown of what happened in this disaster. I felt like I could just come on tonight and say, yeah, did you watch the postcast last night? Well, if you didn't, just go watch it again. And that's pretty much what happened tonight, except it's not true. The second half, very similar. Fourth quarter, almost identical. They fall asleep right in the start of the fourth quarter. Again, when they made a run in the third quarter to try to get back in the game, they drew to within 3. And guess what happened? The Pacers pulled away. Guess what else happened tonight? Just like last night. The Pacers, who are a decent 3-ball shooting team from beyond the arc, shot lights out. Like, I don't understand. At some point, you have to blame the Clippers and their lack of defense. I don't know that it's possible for a team to just have this vendetta out against the Clippers when it comes to shooting threes. I don't get it. It makes absolutely no sense. 63%. They averaged 37% on the season. What is it about playing the Clippers that makes their opponent want to punch them in the mouth from beyond the arc? I just don't get it. I do understand that their defense is anemic. To a certain extent, so was the Pacers tonight. But the Pacers just didn't miss. And at some point, the Clippers had no room for error. And that's a huge problem. We see it a lot in the NCAA tournament, which is going on right now. When one team is playing good defense, the other team just has this pressure hanging over their head that they can't miss. And that's what it felt like for the Clippers. Brian Shaw said it again, coming out of the break. The defense is unacceptable. And that's putting it mildly, right? At least they're saying the right things. The good news, I guess, if you want to try to find some silver lining in this disastrous loss, which is about 2 minutes away from hitting the tape, Westbrook came back and looked good, played with lots of energy. That was very nice. Got a nice ovation from the crowd. I think that is going to pay dividends like it did before he got hurt. But tonight was not the situation where Russ comes back and he's the hero and the Clippers win. But it was nice to see him back on the floor and he did play well. Kawhi Leonard, very aggressive in the early part of the game, had a very nice night. Clippers shot 68% in the first quarter, 34-29 they led. At the end of one, Kawhi had 9, Norm Powell had 8. They also really felt positive about this game because the Pacers are 2-10 coming off of back-to-backs or on the second night of a back-to-back. The Clippers are like 6-6. So obviously second night of a back-to-back is tough, but the Pacers have really been hampered. And then last night, let's not forget, against the Lakers, they went deep into that game, 150-145, the final. So you thought for sure, oh, well, they're going to be gassed, right? This is going to be a good opportunity for the Clippers to come out and snap that 4-game home losing streak. Oh, I'm so frustrated. I just want to hang my head and be like, I don't know what to do. I'm not that I can do anything. You know, it just seems like it's a broken record. And for those of you that don't know what a record is, it's what we used to listen to music on. It's a piece of vinyl and you put it on a record player with a needle, and the needle goes into the grooves and it plays music like a CD used to do. I don't know if you know what that is either, but that's a compact disc. Came before that. Anyway, when a record is broken or scratched, it skips and it just goes over and over and over and over again. Well, that's what it feels like with the Clippers defense. Over and over and over again. They cannot get stops. How many times I wrote it on my notes? Need stops, need stops, need stops. It's just open season on the threes. So that leads me to believe that it is not these opponents coming in to face the Clippers or on the road, doesn't matter where it's happening, that start shooting lights out. The Clippers defense is allowing them to. And I think it's infectious, like in baseball, when a team starts getting hits, the guy behind that guy gets a hit. It becomes infectious. And that appears to be what is going on for the Clippers opponents right now. They start shooting threes. Obviously, the Pacers are a good team. And they're capable of shooting threes. As I said, 10th in the league, averaging 37%. The Clippers, though, are 4th in the league with a little bit higher of an average at like 38, 39. Tonight, the Clippers shot 31% from beyond the arc, 6 of 19. The 54% from the floor, 46 of 83. As the game is just about to reach the finish line, Pacers 58% and 60% from beyond the arc. It's just not acceptable. And at this point, I feel like maybe I had a comment on the YouTube after last night's game that maybe this is Ty Lue's way of positioning the Clippers a little bit lower in the standings against a potential more favorable opponent. Okay, that's a decent theory to have. I don't think that is a ridiculous notion, but you could just see the frustration on his face. You could see the frustration on just about everyone's face except Kawhi Leonard, because he shows very little facial expression. James Harden also doesn't seem to be too bothered by this. Russ was upset. Norm was upset. Paul George was upset. Ty Lue just has this exasperated look on his face, like, what am I going to do? It's got to just be driving him mad. We'll take the first break, come back and get into what Russ looked like in detail returning to the floor for the Clippers tonight in a 116 unraveling against the Indiana Pacers, who are now 40-32. I'm Pete Fox, covering sports in LA dating back to 2007 for ESPN LA and NBC Sports Radio. Thank you for joining me here on the Locked On Clippers Sports LA YouTube channel and the Locked On Clippers podcast feed. All right, tonight's show brought to you by our friends at Prize Picks. Once again, I laid out for good reason because I really did think the Clippers were going to win this game. And, I thought Paul George and Kawhi Leonard were going to go off, which they did, but their number was probably higher than 26 apiece. I probably would have been right around their number, so that might have been a good play for me. I just didn't have the energy or the level. My fuse was not long enough. I could not deal with the frustration of that, losing the selection and the game as well. But Prize Picks is a lot of fun. It makes every game way more interesting. Number one in fantasy sports app with over 3 million members. They are the easiest, the most exciting way to play DFS. It's just you against the numbers. You pick more or less, 2 to 6 players on their stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Demons and Goblins are the newest thing on Prize Picks. The most exciting way to play Prize Picks. Squares marked with red demons or green goblins. Red ones are a little bit harder. The green ones are a little bit easier as far as the number. If you get 4 right with the red demon, you can win up to 100 times your money. Again, that's with 4 correct picks, and as little as a $10 bet, you can win 100 times your money. And if you're not as great at math as I am, that's $1,000. Quick deposits and easy withdrawals. My initial deposit was super painless, hassle-free. The withdrawals are as well. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use the code LockedOnNBA for your first deposit match up to $100. That's prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use the code LockedOnNBA for your first deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less, 2 or more players. It is that easy. All right, it is officially in the books in LA. Clippers fall 133-116, extending their home losing streak to 5 games. At the end of the half, looking pretty good, up 65-62. Pacers are shooting 58% from the floor at the end of the first half and 69% from beyond the arc. That's remarkable and unforgivable. I don't even call that leaving the barn door open. That's just a complete lack of energy, a complete lack of perimeter defense, and it's just unforgivable from a team that's trying to make a deep run in the playoffs and win a championship. How many times do I have to say that if they don't start getting stops and preventing opponents from scoring at will, they're going to be one and done in this playoff run. It's going to be over before we know it. I started keeping track of stops in the second quarter because, I don't know if that's a stat you can look up on ESPN or NBA.com. It probably is, but I didn't know how to do it. So I just said, I'm going to do it myself. I started writing down stops and just ticking for stops and how many times did they turn those stops into points. And I started at about the 5 or 6 minute mark of the second quarter. I got 5 stops, 3 of which were converted to points. So that was okay, right? And it wasn't terrible in the turnover department either. So this was one thing about the Clippers that was positive tonight. The turnovers, they had 8, which is not nearly as bad as we're used to seeing from them. And as far as the Pacers as well. So they, they kept it pretty clean. So it wasn't a big factor in this game. It would have been nice to get a few more turnovers from the Pacers, but that requires playing defense. So they didn't do that. I feel like the Pacers turnovers were just, fumbles. Here you go, handing it over, bad pass, that kind of a thing. So 3 block shots for the Clippers. I'm sorry, 3 block shots for the Pacers. Clippers had 4. So again, defense in this game on really both sides was absent. The Clippers just couldn't keep up with the Pacers shooting the ball. They finished the night 54% from the floor, which is pretty good, and 30% from beyond the arc, which is not good. Not good at all, especially when your opponent is shooting twice that, 60%. And then when the fourth quarter rolled around, the Clippers just went to sleep. It was an 8-0 run for the Pacers to start the fourth quarter, and then into the end of the third quarter, start of the fourth quarter, Pacers on a 20-4 run. Again, just open season from beyond the arc. The second the Pacers let go of the ball, it was in. It felt like in the first quarter, it was all Tyrese Halliburton. I think he was 4 of 4 or 5 for 5 from beyond the arc. He finished the night 6 of 9, 21 points. But then Pascal Siakam got going, 12 of 20, 1 of 2 from beyond the arc for 31 points. They just had no defense for him at all. In the first half, the offense was good enough to keep up. Again, they led at the break. It started to slow a little bit at the end of the second quarter, but again, the defense completely absent, and it just absolutely has to get better. It is about effort, and they are not giving the effort. For a little while, a few minutes during the second, few minutes during the third, I started just watching them play defense. Wasn't really paying attention to who had the ball. I wasn't paying any attention to specifically the plays that were running, who was shooting or anything. I was just watching the Clippers move their feet and defend the ball. A couple of times, they got hands in the face that disrupted the shot. For the most part, you know what it was? It was that lazy, half-assed, too late closeout, waving your arms, kind of just flailing as you wander by the guy who has a wide open look at the basket. That's just unacceptable, right? So you look at this game and you say, well, it's not like the Pacers were playing defense either. No. They won the game because they shot better than the Clippers did. And the Clippers just don't have enough power offensively right now to keep up with a team like that who's shooting lights out. They got plenty of scores, 26 for Kawhi, 26 for Paul George. Obviously, Paul George, a former Pacer, wanted to prove something to them. That whole scenario that we see on a regular basis. Good night for him, 33 minutes, 12 of 18, 2 of 4 from beyond the arc, 3 assists, 2 steals, 1 rebound, 26 points, but a plus-minus of -5. Kawhi Leonard, great efficient night, 38 minutes. He was 11 of 18 for 26 points. He had 3 assists, 4 rebounds, 2 blocks. Zubats, who got yanked in the third because Ty Lue thought it would be a good idea to go small, played pretty well, 4 of 8, 9 points, 11 rebounds, 7 defensive rebounds. He had 2 assists and no blocks, no steals. So, I would expect a little bit more, but he only played 24 minutes. James Harden was completely off tonight, completely absent. That disappearing act again, 3 of 7 from the floor, 0 for 1 from beyond the arc. He really didn't take that many shots. Again, 7 shots for James Harden. I don't know if that was because Russ was back in the game or what. Maybe he just wasn't feeling it, but 11 points, his plus minus was minus 24. So that's way below what we need from him. Terrence Mann didn't play much, 17 minutes, 2 of 5, 6 points for him. As far as Westbrook's night, which was good offensively, it was good defensively. He brought that energy that the Clippers absolutely need, but it just wasn't enough. He played 18 minutes. There was no minute restriction on him. He just played less than normal, 5 of 10, because really, when you got into the second half, as I mentioned, Clippers drew to within 3, but when the third quarter was over, 97-89 Pacers. They just started to pull away, and the Clippers couldn't match them. They couldn't keep up. So I think they just put Russ on the bench and said, we don't want to risk it. 5 of 10, 0 for 2 from beyond the arc, and they were laughable. Let's be honest. One of them hit the bottom of the net, and not in the good way. 4 of 6 from the free throw line, but he had 14 points. A couple of highlight ones, as a matter of fact, which we'll get to here on the bucket lists in just a minute. But the thing that I really liked about Russ tonight, beyond the energy, was the passing. I feel like that has been lacking a little bit. And as good as James Harden is at being a facilitator and passing the ball, as good as he was 2 months ago, when I was spoiled, I started doing the postcast here at Locked On January 1st. And I remember talking to some of my colleagues, and they were kind of envious. They're like, wow, it hasn't been too tough a road for you to hoe. The first 2 months, the Clippers barely lost. Well, March rolled around, and we're getting kicked in the teeth on a regular basis. So I'm definitely earning my money. But early on, James Harden was making such beautiful passes, sharp, the cross court over the head hook to Terrence Mann or Norm Powell in the corner. That's non-existent. Or if he tries that pass, it gets intercepted, which could potentially be scouting. I don't know. I feel like the pass isn't quite as sharp as it was. But Russ tonight had that energy and was very sharp, passing the ball, facilitating, running the offense. So I think that's a good thing for them, and they'll definitely need more of that. Kawhi Leonard, all in all, a solid night. 13 points at the break. PG had 13 at the break. So 13 in the first half, 13 in the second half. I mean, you can't ask for more than that. Nothing really from Harden in the first half, 4 points. Norm had 10 in the first half, and Russ had 6. But again, no stops, and they just couldn't afford to miss. There was one sequence where PG had a nice stop, got the ball to Russ, and he had a dribble drive layup, and it brought him to down 5. But they couldn't just handle the pressure of the Pacers. They would get these runs. They would get the energy that you think would be enough for them to go on a run of their own. I didn't have any notes tonight where the Clippers went on a run of any significant matter scoring points, because they just didn't do it. Every time they felt the need to score at a high clip, they fall apart. Pacers get the rebound, go down and bury a 3 like they weren't even trying. So it was just really infuriating. All right, we'll take the last break and come back and get into the bucket list and try to find some silver lining for tonight's disaster. The latest for the Clips, 133-116 as they extend their home losing streak to 5 consecutive games. I'm Pete Fox. Thank you for joining me here on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel and listening to us on the Locked On Clippers podcast feed. All right, tonight's show brought to you by the fine people at Robinhood. Did you know that even if you have a 401k for retirement, you can still have an IRA? Robinhood has the only IRA that gives you a 3% boost on every dollar you continue to contribute when you subscribe to Robinhood Gold. But get this, now through April 30th, Robinhood is even boosting every single dollar you transfer in from another retirement account with a 3% match, which is solid. That's right. No cap on a 3% match. Robinhood Gold gets you the most for your retirement thanks to their IRA 3% match. This offer is good through April 30th. Get started at robinhood.com/boost. Subscription fees apply. And now for some fun legal info, claim as of Q1 2024, validated by Radius Global Market Research. Investing involves risk, including loss. Limitations apply to IRAs and 401ks. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold for 1 year from the date of first 3% match. Must keep Robinhood IRA for 5 years. The 3% matching on transfers is subject to specific items and conditions. specific terms and conditions, rather. Robinhood IRA available to U.S. customers in good standing. Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC, is registered a broker dealer. We also are brought to you tonight by our good friends at eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and passion are what bring home the winning trophy for professional sports teams. Well, it's also what keeps your ride or die alive and moving down the road without a bunch of rattling and clunking and clanking and uncertainty as to whether you're going to make it to your destination. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, from superchargers to LED headlights, roof racks, which are super cool looking, and they're functional. I put one on my old beat up Ford Expedition. My wife hated it, but I kind of liked it until I lost that argument and had to give it away. But nonetheless, I enjoyed it for quite a long time. I got it on eBay, and it was quite a deal. Again, if you tried to buy it at a performance shop, it would be considerably more. So you find great deals there. As I mentioned, I generally try to do my own brakes and always buy them on eBay Motors because they are about a quarter of what you would spend at an auto parts store, because eBay Motors has got you covered with over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die. You'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or you get your money back, because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need and the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. Okay, where's that thing? Where's my thing? There it is. All right, Clippers fall apart in the fourth quarter, second half to be specific, 133-116. But it felt like during the third quarter that there was at least a little bit of hope that maybe they could go on a run. They got it to down 3, but by the time the quarter was over, it was 97-89. It feels like, it really does feel like the pressure is getting to them, especially when the game is tight and the opponent is just burying everything they put up. So I've mentioned it a lot recently. I can't remember the last time they had a good win. It goes back to that game against Minnesota where they really played D. That was the last time. So we know they're capable of it. These wins over teams like Chicago and Portland, ho hum, whatever. That's kind of like throw our jerseys on the floor and we can beat whoever. The Pacers are a good team. They're young. They've got stars like Pascal Siakam and Tyrese Halliburton, and you can't just throw your jersey on the court and expect to win this game. They needed to get stops, and winning basketball games against high-scoring teams like the Pacers is about playing defense and getting stops, and they did not do that in any way, shape, or form tonight. So you have to feel good, I guess, that they shot the ball well, but in the end, it just wasn't enough. So let's try to find some bright spots, and we'll get to the bucket list and talk about the baskets that made us feel good and that we thought, hey, this is going to turn out okay for the Clippers. Got us a little bit excited before things fell apart in the fourth quarter. So in at number 5, Norm Powell at the 5:08 mark of the first hit a 3, and then just about a minute later, he had another one. The first one made it 18-16, and then 23-17, and it forced a timeout for the Pacers. So Norm Powell hitting his first 2 threes was really nice to see. And at number 4, PG3 or PG13 had a 3. It was a beautiful step back crossover that caused Pascal Siakam to kind of lose his footing and stumble away. PG buried it, and it was 49-44 at the 7:20 mark of the second. On to number 3, Paul George again. He got a 2 coming off a steal and just flushed it. 53-52 got the Clippers back the lead. They were kind of going back and forth at this point. On to number 2, Kawhi Leonard had a driving layup at the 8:30 mark of the third quarter, got fouled, and the one was good to make it a 78-71 lead for the Pacers. So this was in the third when they started to pull away, and it seemed again like the Clippers were hanging in there. They were fighting. They were having energy. They had energy in the first quarter like crazy, passing the ball, doing all the things you want to see from them. And so I thought, okay, maybe they can find some energy here in the third and battle and fight and come away with a win here that is so greatly needed by them. But 78-71, down 7 at that point. They got it to down 3, but that would be as close as they got. Russ had a beautiful put-back layup with his bad hand, elevating through the air and just kind of floating towards the basket. It was at the 3:40 mark of the third. Nothing on the bucket list from the fourth. That was a disaster. That made it a 5-point game. And it was just nice to see Russ playing with that energy, putting it in the basket with the bad hand and, giving the Clippers something to be excited about at that point, because there wasn't much in the second half. I don't know what Ty Lue and Brian Shaw and the Clippers coaching staff are going to do, but they're going to have to do something. They're going to have to figure out a way for this team to play defense against good teams. Now, here's the good and bad news. The bright side, I guess, is that they have 2 very weak, inferior opponents coming up in the Orlando Magic on Wednesday, and then the Charlotte Hornets on Friday. Is that right? No, I have that wrong. Sorry, hold on. Let me back up. I know the next one is Orlando, and I will miss the next couple of games because, as you can see, my background is a little different because I am on the road in Miami on a little family spring break vacation. But the Clippers are Philly again. So, yeah, not a pushover. Wednesday, they'll play the Philadelphia 76ers, who kicked them right in the junk a couple of nights ago. Or was that yesterday? Yeah, that was yesterday. It's trying to forget. Yeah, so they lost to the Sixers yesterday, lost to the Pacers today. That defeat in downtown at Crypto to the Sixers was 121-107. Another embarrassing performance on defense, another complete and utter collapse in the fourth quarter. So, obviously something to prove against the Sixers if they have any humility at all. That'll start at 4:30 Pacific time. Then on Friday, it's the Orlando Magic. Should be an easy win there. And then I'll be back with you on Sunday, midday in Charlotte against the Hornets, who are a 17-win team. So 2 of the next 3 are layups and a tough one on Wednesday. So hopefully the Clippers can get their act together and have some sort of wake-up call here, because this kind of momentum is not what you're looking for heading into the postseason. It's just, it's a death on a stick. I don't know how else to put it. They have to find something. They have to figure it out. They need a kick in the backside. I don't know where they get it. I don't know who can give it to them. The bats in the shower routine from Bull Durham, I don't think that's enough at this point. I think they need a motivational speaker, maybe. I don't know who that would be. It just seems like the options are few and far between. They need divine intervention. Let's put it that way, because what they've been doing lately is absolutely embarrassing. We know they're capable of it, but they need to be reminded, get back on track, start playing a little defense, which will hopefully lead to more defense. And then they won't be so under the gun to score the way they have been the last couple of nights. When it was all said and done, the Clippers fall 133-116 to the Indiana Pacers. Let me get you to the records real quick here, just in case you're wondering. Clippers are now, my battery's about to die, 44-27. Indiana Pacers 41-32. Again, I'm Pete Fox. Thank you for joining me here on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel and listening on the Locked On Clippers podcast feed. Again, I will be off for the next couple of games. Join you again back on Sunday when the Clippers take on the Charlotte Hornets in Charlotte, North Carolina. That should be an easy layup, and that will be part of them getting back on track if everything goes as well. Fingers crossed. Again, have a good night. Have a good week, and I will talk to you on Thursday. Take care.